Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's Josh at TrukStuf, and we got JB Reviews.
Yes, sir.
And today we're gonna probably open up another can of worms. I don't know. We'll see.
This is a good can of worms, though.
A lot of people have a misconception on the Cummins diesel and the intake manifold, right? So on all previous generations, the intake manifold was directly cast as part of the head, and that's the big part on the side that when you take the air grade heater off, that's what everything bolts to, the air grade heater and your air horn and all that. It bolts down to the intake manifold, and it's not really something that we've looked at as far as a performance gain or anything like that. How can they redesign the intake manifold or do anything better to maybe prevent and help prevent carbon buildup, soot buildup, whatever? When they're cast into the head, there's not a lot we can do. But on the new generation, we thought earlier that we were maybe going to get an aluminum head, but from what I've seen and what I've read about, it's not aluminum head. We still have a cast iron head, but we have a separate intake manifold that is aluminum and bolts on, and that's why it was misconstrued from the pictures, because it looked like the whole head was aluminum instead of cast iron. So maybe we're going to be able to see something from the aftermarket side that changes the ability for the intake manifold to perform. We'll just leave it at that. Now we've talked about carbon buildup on certain parts of the systems, whether it's a gas engine or a diesel engine. On gas engine, carbon builds up on the back sides of the valves. That's because we have port injection. You have a valve that's hot for being exposed to combustion temperatures, and then on the back side you got an injector that's squirting fuel, and when that fuel hits the back side of that valve, because it's not an efficient burn, it can start to build up carbon. Now once the fuel gets into the combustion chambers, your carbon buildup is just part of combustion process. On a diesel, you don't have any fuel being, well, let me rephrase this. On a Cummins diesel, you don't have any fuel being injected pre-combustion chamber. It's all direct injected into the engine. So the carbon buildup inside of the cylinders isn't really prominent. We don't have the problem unless the engine's sick and it's not running right. Now the intake manifolds or pre-combustion chamber airflow, we're not really seeing a whole lot of carbon, but you see a lot of soot, and all that soot's coming from the EGR valve. The EGR valve redirects gas flow right back into the intake manifold, and that's where that's coming from. So we did a video last week about the induction injection cleaning process, and is it really worth it? I've taken the engines apart after doing an induction injection, and they are substantially cleaner than when before we did it. Let's say a vehicle comes in this week and it has a bunch of services, preventative maintenance, and we do the induction injection flush. Yeah. And then let's say slightly down the road he comes back and says, hey, this thing's going through a little bit of coolant. Well, then we pull the EGR cooler off, and I can tell the difference between an EGR cooler that's been freshly cleaned and one that hasn't been. There's far less soot that builds up inside of that EGR cooler after it's had the induction injection flush done to it. Now, the next 6-7 service, the Perform service, the 67K that I get in, I'm going to do another video on. I did one when we first started the channel, and it was pretty crappy. I watched it again last night and went, So we'll do it again, and we'll actually show how much of the crap comes out of it after we get done soaking it, and I go through and rinse it all out. But when we want to talk about how can we prevent so much of the soot and the carbon buildup inside of the engine, whether it's a gas or a diesel, the aftermarket side has been hinting at this for quite a while. Snow Performance has an induction that's a water methanol injection kit that people have used as a power adder, and part of the power adder is cooling stick with me for a minute. This is going to get kind of confusing. So the colder the air temperature is, the more dense it is in oxygen. So if we cool down the air charge going into the cylinder, there has a higher oxygen density than when it's warm. With the higher oxygen molecule content per that measured volume, you can add more fuel, right? Because you still want to maintain your your air fuel ratio, which around here is about 13.7 to 1. So if you have too much oxygen in the cylinder, you're going to lean it out if you don't inject enough fuel. Stoichiometric. God, I'm going to have to figure that out. So anyway, if you cool that down even more with a water methanol injection, then you can add more fuel, make more power. The benefit of running that system is everything on the intake side. Now we're probably talking about an engine that's gone through a weight loss program and not dealing with EGR flow back up into the intake or whatever. But the water and the methanol, when it contacts the hot carbon and soot, tends to kind of like break it off like glass. You got hot carbon and you touch it with cold water, cooler water, it will break off and help keep the engine clean. So for a lot of years, when we did induction cleaning on a gas engine, let's say, we would run different chemicals. You know, back in the old days, we used to run transmission fluid right into the intake of an engine, and it would clean the crap out of everything. But that burn process creates a carcinogenic smoke, and they made it illegal for us to do that anymore. Seafoam has a product out there that we can rig up off of manifold vacuum and let it suck that in while we're running the engine, and it will also help clean the whole entire intake side, your valves, your rings, your piston tops, you know, everything that gets covered with carbon. But let's bring it back to diesels, since we like talking about diesels so much, and the Snow Performance water methanol injection. Now, they use the methanol. It doesn't create a lot of power. What it does is prevents the mixture from freezing in colder temperatures. Other than that, you're literally just using it for the water so that it can keep the combustion temperature down, oxygen content up, and they can add more fuel. Make sense? Hope so. Let's see, what else were we going to open up on this worm?
I mean, well, the meth injection, I mean, that I never even thought about that.
You know, it's a good thing for people who are really active about wanting to keep their engine running at optimal performance.
Yeah.
You know, some of us do believe that we have to abide by the law and continue to utilize the emissions control devices that are on the vehicle from the factory. So for those of us who want to keep those emission control devices because we want to be law-abiding citizens, we will, you know, look at alternative ways to help keep our engine clean on the inside. So a basic water methanol injection system would definitely lead us to that path of being able to constantly keep the engine clean. It's a pain in the butt because you're constantly putting it in. You have to tune it. You know, you don't want to be running your water methanol injection all the time.
Yeah.
So you have to tune it, and you have to put an on-off switch so that you can shut that system down. If you're towing, yeah, turn it on. It's going to help clean out even more. You're running at a lower temperature, and you're running the liquid that can help combat the soot and the carbon buildup.
Now, can someone go and get a kit from someplace?
Yeah, snowperformance.com.
Snowperformance.com. Okay. Yeah, maybe I'll put that in the video here for you guys so you can see it. But yeah, that's, hey, you know, obviously what you're saying is you can't go to Walmart or AutoZone, get a fuel additive or diesel additive, whatever, and get that combustion clean, because those products don't work that way. They don't even advertise that way, actually.
No, I mean, you can get the products that you dump in your tank, and that will help keep your injector clean.
Yeah.
But
it's not gonna clean
that's it.
Yeah, it's not going to clean the combustion.
Not going to clean the combustion chambers.
Nor will it clean the DPF. They say it cleans DPF.
Oh man, by the time it hits the DPF, everything is such a vapor by then that any usefulness that it's got in it has been burned up through the combustion process.
Exactly.
You know, our chemical that we run on an induction injection cleaning, it even says on it to clean DPF, but I don't see it. I don't see that any liquid that you're gonna put into the intake side is gonna survive long enough to make it to the DPF to help clean the DPF out. Maybe there's a chemical combination in there that's changing, I don't know. Soot, and when you turn it to ash inside the DPF, there's really no way of cleaning that crap out. There's a reason why we have a grams per liter reading when we get into our diagnostic tool, and if the DPF has over a specific amount of grams per liter, depending on the year that changes, but that's when we either go through a regen process or replace the DPF. If it's over 9 grams per liter on a 5th gen, it's automatic condemn the DPF, replace it. I've tried getting them to clean up through multiple regen cycles and drive cycles, and I have not had any success at all once they get past that point. But usually there's damage to it anyway for it to get to that point in, so it is what it is. But if you're wanting to actively try and do something to help keep your combustion chambers, your intake manifolds, and everything else cleaner, consider running a water methanol injection system. I mean, it's not going to hurt, not going to void your warranty, so give it a shot. But anyway, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, I know some of this can get kind of convoluted, but you know, as always, I try and answer back as many as I can. So shoot me some questions, shoot me some comments, even hit that like button every once in a while. Those are always awesome. But we want to thank you for tuning in, and have a good day.